Hello, friends. Welcome back to Fenny for the Soul. It's been a long gap. I've been traveling all over the country, and that is the reason. Many video stories coming your way. The first one that I would like to bring to you after this gap is, the Liberty and Light Festival of Goa, a 3-day community curated People's Festival of Ideas that took place in Panjim between May 28 and 30. The mornings they used to have lovely walks through the Panjim market and the Fontenas, Latin Quarter of Panjim, among other things. And the daytime activities inside the Makines Palace in Panjim was dedicated to panel discussions with authors, thinkers, intellectuals, Dalit writers. And it was very fascinating to listen to all these people. In the evenings, we had lots of entertainment, stand-up comedy, and music. So without much ado, I suggest that you plug in your earplug and sit back and enjoy this little video story.
First of all, thank you all for being gathered here. And it's amazing to see the love for local and love for bounty as we say in company. I feel that the vendors, the sellers will have lots of stories for us to hear and listen to. And I always listen to them. So I think this is called Wanta.
Oh, Wanta.
This is called Wanta. In Goa, we don't have, sometimes we don't sell by the kilo, we don't sell by the dozen. This is called Wanta. It's so interesting that people stand like this on the road and we pick up. So this
That's Musrat.
Okay. And what? Malpura.
That big one? That big one?
That is called bowl, I think. What the bowl? Bowl is called. Today also Karwana, right? There's also Karna in the market. So this is a Karna tart played with jamun and Karna. So the base is a mix of jamun along with a base of jamun and custard, and it's topped with fresh cream along with Karna. It's got a nice bite feel to it, and you'll enjoy the textures of all these things. That's the human. So today I was telling you all that the prawn for the curry needs to be small. So that gives you the maximum flavor in the curry. So I've used that technique here. I've used to make a human with small prawns along with drumsticks or moringa pods. And I've grilled prawn in a ginger spice on top. So we've used tiger prawn. We've kept the techniques where it has to be. I've not used big tiger prawns in the curry and the other way around, but try to keep the whole thing in one plate where the flavor extraction is the most.
Richness in the food here. There's enough to create hundreds of unique restaurants inspired by own food, by own cuisine, by own culture. And it's sad that there's only a handful of people actually pushing the boundaries when it comes to that. And I think Chef Avinash Martin is a great example, and I was really lucky to have eaten there 6 months ago. But we need more restaurants that pay homage and do that. I'm not saying that we should all be eating just Goan food, but right now the balance is way off.
Majority of my neighborhood is Catholic, and I am brought up in the same milieu. Well, I never felt the factor, the othering factor, because I was brought up in such a way. I have played football with my friends, never looking at his face whether he is a Hindu or Catholic. But then I never felt also othered by my friends. So that is what appears in my writings.
and walk out and walk towards the bus stop, not to catch a bus, to sit there. And always be able to say hi to people, the way we all say hi to each other here in Goa, by asking people whether they are doing what they are doing. This is auntie, papad se Goan gatla. And then she has to respond in the same way that she has to agree that she's doing it. Like, hi, papad se Goan gatla. Come on, motorcycle duda. Motorcycle duda. This guy used to come to the bus stop, I'm leaving for school, and he would come to me and say, Omkar, school la goita. Of course. At 7:30 in the morning with this big bag, where am I going? I'm a child.
Another very powerful training habit.
Part of our experience with Goa Collective has been the same thing. Like, we're trying to create a very effervescent group. I realized that I have a very limited way of looking at Goa, because I came to Goa first time as a tourist, and that industry exists in a very kind of complicated relationship with the landscape, right? So it provides a certain livelihood, but at the same time it's very extractive. Not unlike, say, the mining industry. I think one could look at cultural mining as being one of the metaphors for understanding the tourism industry. So I think once we problematize it better, we're able to understand the depth of complexity, and then I think it also removes the heavy hand, right? Because as planners and architects, we tend to have a very heavy hand. The architect and planner wet dream is tabula rasa, right? Like when you have a blank slate and you can draw straight lines everywhere.
History has now become. So my own family was affected by partition, both sides of my family, And so my father's side is from Sylhet, in what used to be undivided Assam, and is now a part of Bangladesh. It was possible for somebody to have been born in undivided India and been an Indian, and then by line drawn on a map by Sir Cyril Radcliffe, become a Pakistani, and then a few years later become a Bangladeshi without moving house even once. So that was the experience of partition, part of the experience of partition in that side.
American women fight for equality in salaries and career choices and all of those things. Indian women are still fighting to be able to marry someone they love. So why is there such disparity? Why is there such qualitative difference between women's suppression in America and women's suppression in India? What explains that extra oppression of women in India is caste, because intercaste marriage is the cornerstone of maintaining caste system. Caste is division of society into different social statuses, and in order to maintain the integrity of caste, you have to maintain the caste lines.
Literary prize award for it. If there was a prize for achievement in the Goan letters, Jerry Pinto would have won that also for it. Jerry, tell us about Anna the Way Home, please.
Okay, I started with this idea that I would write this book about my family because I have some very good male friends. One of them is Vivek, another is Naresh Fernandez. And one day I told Naresh I'm going to the Jaipur Literary Festival. And he said, oh, Salman is going to be there. So I said, oh, that's nice. He said, and Suketu is going to be there, so Suketu can introduce you to Salman. Suketu is his buddy. Naresh knows everybody, like Vivek, Naresh knows everybody. And I am 1 degree away from each of them, so I know everybody minus one. So I was like, Naresh's friend, Vivek's friend, etc. etc. So Suketu and was introduced to me. I had been going to Jaipur very often, not for this. You eat ice cream, you lie on the floor in your chandi, you do what you want. But 1,000 words a day. And so I wrote 1,000 words a day for 2 years. And then at the end of it, I thought, what? Because men are like that. Little bit inside, still there is one XY chromosome crawling about. So Alexandra said, that's really fat. Lots of words. I've written like about nearly, 700,000 words. That's 3 times Tolstoy's War and Peace. Jaya, Leo, I'm here. Okay? And I thought in this, there'll be a book.
There you stand for your cooking brothers. There you pray for your maintain brothers. What the West, what the West. When a home is burning, 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 when a home.
She's got everything she needs, she's an artist, she don't look back. She's got everything she needs, she's an artist, she don't look back. She can take the dark out the night and paint the daytime black. Ha! You'll start out standing proud to steal her on the things she sees. You'll start out standing proud to see her on the things she sees. You'll wind up peeking through her keyhole down upon your knees.
Community to be able to produce work which would be able to have a commercial value, because it's not something that I have started doing. It is something that has been happening for a very long time. I have seen these Ambedkar paintings in my house, tiles, but it's only that is an aesthetic that is limited to a certain class of people or certain caste of people. I want to take it to a bigger level, like as we say that Ambedkar is a hero of the nation as well. He's not just a leader of the depressed classes. He worked for women as well. He worked for the laborers and workers as well. So I want to with my art I want to depict I want to create this sketch of him as a mainstream subject, and
that was enough for me to move to Delhi and start working on that.
Weave to somebody's name, and then generations of school children will think that person is a wheel. So what that person actually did, and the professional historian can go blue in the face saying, no, this is what that person did. But if enough people are calling somebody wheel, if enough people are coming to Lit Fest, and not just in Goa, but everywhere, large numbers of people make it their mission in life to talk about a certain thing with such force and such emphasis that it appears to be the truth. The truth gets disguised. And so a whole generation of young people then believe that to be the truth. Which is why textbooks, which is why national curriculum frameworks, which is why the NCRT, which is the apex body for writing of textbooks, are important, because that is where the checks and filters are. So the government, the HRD, has done its bit. It's got its checks and filters in place. But what you do with those checks and filters then becomes part of the political will, part of the political dispensation. So you have an Arjun Singh who comes along with it as HRD and lays down one national curriculum framework and says, this is how history should be written, and these are the people we want to sit on those committees so that they make sure that no errors creep in. And then we have somebody else who comes along and who gets his own set of people to make yet another committee to decide how history is to be written.
As a foodstuff and as a source of alcohol, from the very draconian excise and other kinds of laws that have been suppressing it for years. As a result, we have seen, because we have written down concrete policy proposals and sent them and engaged with bureaucrats in various states, 8 states so far out of 13, we have seen in the past 3 years since we launched our MOA and since MOA became a big story, of which was written about many, many times since our launch, that states are in fact making some changes. Maharashtra, MP, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, all have been changing their policies slowly, making it more tribal friendly, allowing tribal people, in fact, this is one of our suggestions, to develop MOA as an international quality spirit, run their own distilleries officially, and export MOA. So we've been
liquors, good everything. But I must say, this whole journey, instrumental has been the Casualty Distillers and Bottlers Association. All this would not have been possible, and I'm not alone in this journey. The association has been pushing it. And who is the association? The association can be, some people term us as capitalists, some people call us as businessmen, but people don't realize that all of us have our hearts in the right place. There's something that momentous happened last year. The government was coming out with the FAIRY policy, and in one of those meetings, we go back and forth when you're creating policy. Somebody said, one of the officials off the record said, why do you want to keep it traditional? Let's modernize everything. We keep the small...
How to look at the world. And that's why I thought I would read, perhaps, since I'm a novelist, even in literary, this is my favorite writing about novels, although I think as a literary critic, one should have the ability to write about any book that comes your way. But since, again, we're in an era, there are a few novelists in this room, I think we all feel a sense that our long age of being this central form in literature is coming to an end, and I know many novelists who write primarily...
Speaking my mind on Facebook, and for saying something that I was very concerned about the violence that continues and nobody's ever arrested, that was since 1979. So this space is a very liberating space. I wish we had this kind of space in Shillong, which we don't, because we have to be very careful, especially if the government is funding it, then, everything will be cut to size. And this gentleman, I had a glimpse of the book about Francisco Luis Gomes. He combines so many things in his persona: writer, physician, historian, economist, political scientist, and above all, a member of parliament in Portugal, where he really fought for the freedom of his people here. And
करता है, क्यों मंदिर मस्जिद करता है, क्यों मंदिर मस्जिद करता है, क्यों मंदिर मस्जिद करता है, कभी हॉस्पिटल भी आ जाना घूमने, कभी स्कूल कॉलेज भी आ जाना